Alright. So we did the Cartesian and the polar last week. We're going to do another one today called just dynamic. And so remember the dynamic down here? It's kind of what helps us do it. So if I do a line, I pick a point. Another thing is the polar tracking. So when I come down, I get close to 0, snaps in. My cursor isn't even there. It's still above the line, but I got close to the angle, and so it snapped down. Give me this little green dotted line. That's saying that if I type a distance here, it's going to snap in at that angle. Remember last time we hit tab and we could change that angle? So I could lock it in at like 20 and hit tab and come back. Then I could do a distance. I can do the same thing. I just go and point it. As soon as I get that green line, it locks into the angle, I can type it in. So I can say 5. And I can go up, get the green line, 2. And if I go here, well, it's going to snap in at 45 for me. If I come down here, to this little polar tracking icon, I can right click, I can change that angle. So I can change it to 30. Now I can just go over, move up close to 30, and type it in. You have to be careful not to let your mouse move a little bit, because then you're not on it anymore. So this is where I like to keep my hand on the mouse. My right hand never leaves the mouse. I type everything with my left hand. The whole keyboard, left hand. That works for me, because that way I can really control what this is doing. I can hold it where I need it to, and I can type and hit enter. All with my left hand. So you might want to try that out, see if it works for you. It saves doing this all day long. You know, move, type, move, type, move, type. I don't like that. This is really easy. I can move this hand over the whole keyboard. This one stays on the mouse. I can't type like this though. Now because I want to do that when I'm typing. So it kind of messes you up if you're a good typer to begin with. But if you're a good typer, you know where keys are and you should be able to get it. But try it out, see what works for you. You might just say, that's stupid. I'm not going to try that, and that's fine. So I can point up. So most of the time, instead of doing coordinates, I'll do this. I'll just do dynamic entry. I'll point where I want to go, type a distance, hit enter, and it's going to go that way. Okay? So you can try that out today when you're doing stuff. So today we're going to talk about text, and we're talking about our layouts. So if I go to my layout, and I opened our template. So here's our layout in our template. So you can see the layout out here on the white background. It's got some text. I can select all this text and things. I can't pick that rectangle right there. It's not letting me pick it. Where's that rectangle? It's over here in model space, right? It's just not all the way inside the screen.
Oh.
And so right now I'm in paper space. And so a good example of this would be your layout is your piece of paper. Down here at the bottom, it says paper. That means I'm writing on the paper itself. So the title block's on the piece of paper thing. This window right here, this little line right here that goes all the way around, that's called a viewport. So if I double click in there, you can see my UCS comes up. And I can move around and pan and zoom my thing that's in model space. So what that viewport is, it's like taking my piece of paper and ripping a hole in it, and now I can see through the paper into model space. But it's not just like an open hole, it's like putting a transparency over the hole, because I can write on top of it also. I can put it here, I can write here, and then in this window I can write on top of it in paper, or I can go back in and play with stuff in model space. Okay? So this is, the viewport is a window through the paper into model space. Okay? So usually when we draw, we'll start out in model space. We'll do the drawing, we'll get all the geometry right. Then we'll bring it to our paper, set it up, and then we'll add dimensions and text and stuff like that afterwards. Because that's stuff we want to be able to read on the paper, no matter what size our paper is, whether it's an A size, which is 8.5 by 11, or a B size, which is 11 by 17. See, there's the window there. So if I'm looking in here, so any questions right now? You guys understand the concept of the layout and the viewport? Yes, no, yeah. What does this say down here now?
Model.
Tells me model because I'm in model space through the viewport, or through the layout, okay? So that's the distinction between in paper space in the layout, in model space through the layout, or in just plain model space with the tab. Yeah.
If you want to write text, you have to be on the template on the paper.
It's a good idea because depending on what size I want to make this, it changes, and we'll go over that later on.
Okay.
But like notes and things like that would be just out here on paper space. And I'm just double clicking to switch from model space to paper space.
What about dimension?
Dimensions go in the viewport, in model space,
In the model space.
but through the layout.
Okay.
Yeah, so dimension will actually do like this, not in here. Do not dimension in pure model space. We'll talk more about that when we get to dimensioning. We're going to spend a whole couple weeks on dimensioning. But do not ever dimension here, unless your boss tells you to. Because some companies do that. They dimension things in model space and they scale it, and that's the bad way to do it. It's not the smart way. The smart way is to do it through the layout, because then it scales it up to match whatever your paper is. No matter what scale you have your part. Okay? So what scale do I have that part right now?
1:1.
Really? It's drawn 1:1 in model space, right? But what scale is it on the piece of paper?
Scale says 1:1.
Really? Look right here. It says viewport scale. Yeah, this scale right here says 1:1, right?
Yeah.
That's just what I've typed in, but I haven't changed it yet, so
okay.
that's wrong. Look down here. I'm at 0.626224. That's my scale right now. Is that a good scale?
I wouldn't use it.
No, that's not a good scale. So if I click on there, you can see I've got some scales in the list. If you just open a plain template, it's going to have a bunch of other stuff. It's going to have a bunch of architectural scales and all kinds of crap. This one I've got narrowed down to where it has 1:1, so that's full size. I have 1:1 which guess what that is? 1:1 metric.
Oh,
So
metric.
drawing millimeters. If this was drawn in millimeters, it'd be full size now. I have 1:2, 1:4, 2:1. So I can pick a scale off that list. What if I wanted something that's a scale that's not on that list? Let's say I want this 2:3. I don't want it half scale, I want it 2/3 scale. Or I want it 3/4 scale. How would I do that?
You have this list narrowed. Is it in the full list?
This is my list. In this drawing, this is the list right now.
Custom?
Yeah. So other ones, what other drawings have doesn't matter to this drawing. But I'm going to go to custom right here. So it says custom, click there. Now I'll say add. So I'll call this 3:4. Now my one paper unit equals 0.75 drawing units. Okay, so that's setting my scale factor. I say okay, okay. Now if I pick that 3:4, oh, that went the wrong way, huh? So let's get out of that one. Okay, it should be the other way, right? edit, should be 3/4 of a paper unit to 1 drawing unit.
Oh, okay.
Right? It's supposed to be less than it, because that's one drawing unit, or one, and then this is 1 paper unit. So I want it to be 3/4 the size. If you look at this metric one, you can look at that one, because 1 paper unit equals 25.4 drawing units. That's just a full size thing. So when we're doing full size, we just change our units. So remember when I said that in model space we just pick a unit and draw? We don't really care what it is. This is where we do that conversion. So let's say I was doing a drawing and I was drawing in miles, and I wanted to show that full size on the screen. I couldn't really see much, but let's just say that. How would I figure that out? Let's say there's something off the side of the road that I wanted to show full size.
Just change your scale on the paper, right?
Yeah, I'd add a new scale here. So, but how would I put that in?
One paper unit equals 1 mile drawing unit.
But I don't have what, because this is, the paper's in inches. How do I know how to make it?
I don't know.
Anybody? What's the conversion of inches to miles? Has to do it the hard way.
Feet times, yes,
Meters?
I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to type 1 mile in, no, I'm going to say 1 inch in miles. And that's what it is. It's 1.57, but it's the -5th, so that's really what? That's really 0.000157 miles per inch. I just took the decimal place, moved it 5 places. So I could put that in, but maybe I don't want it full scale. Maybe I want it 1 inch. Well, I can put that in miles. I don't know. I never use miles. But you see that? You see the idea? Get this number. So 0.00001557 I can put there. Now when I just pick that zoom factor, it's going to go really small, because that's a huge thing. So, but if I drew a line that was 1, that line's really big. But if I do something that was 1 inch, so it would be full size in that unit. You know, kind of see how it works. I'm just making it really confusing.
No.
I think you did it backwards. Shouldn't it be to 1 inch?
No, because
Yeah. See it. Shouldn't your conversion go the other way? Shouldn't you convert to inches to miles?
yes, you're
and
right.
not miles to inches?
You're right.
Yeah, your line was really big, and now your box is bigger than your line, so
Yeah.
it's not showing.
Yeah, it should go
The
the other
box
way.
is too
You're
big
right.
for the viewport, right?
So I need to do it the other way. I need to say 1
Miles.
mile in inches, right?
Yeah.
So then I can put that in. Now it matches up with my metric one, right? That's why I leave that one in there so we can check. But you always want to check what you're doing. I don't know why you do miles full scale, but then you could go to other scales, factors. Or if you did the math to figure out exactly what scale factor, like if I want it to be 1 inch equals a mile on the drawing, I could figure that out by doing some scaling and some stuff. but usually you're going to use these other ones. And we're not going to do anything with miles in this class. Usually we're going to do inches. If you're going to do something in feet, then that's a little bit different. But then that's pretty easy conversion, 1 to 12 and stuff. And when we get to, we'll do a section later on architecture. We'll actually use architecture units where I can mix feet and inches in AutoCAD, and that makes it real easy. That's where we use those other architectural scales that are already set up. So I can pick that scale. I like that 3/4 scale, so I'm going to pick that, set it here. After I pick a scale and I pan it, so I can just cue the wheel and pan it to where I want it to be positioned, I want to come down here and lock the viewport. So I hit the little lock button down there. I'll lock it. And now what? If I go in here and I zoom, I can zoom in and out, but it kind of takes the paper with it. So I'm not messing up my scale factor. I can pan, it's not going to mess up where the view is located. So you guys do the geometry model space, bring it into the layout, set your zoom, lock it. Okay? Those are the first steps. Any questions on that? No? Yes? No? Yes?
No, what's the other word for that, for the paper thing?
That's our layout.
Layout, okay.
Yeah. And then in the layout, I have model space viewports, and I have paper space, which is where I can draw everything. So out here on paper space, I can draw a line crossing over the viewport boundary. If I'm in model space, as soon as I go past the viewport, it turns back into an arrow, so I can't keep drawing. Okay, that's one other easy way to tell. If you're in here and you can't pick that line, go out to paper space and then you can probably pick it. Or if you're in paper space, you can't pick a line, go to model space. That's a usual thing that happens. People draw it in the wrong place, and then they can't pick it, and you wonder why not. Also down here, the title block. If you double click on your name, or where it says drawn by, these are called attributes. We'll talk more about these later on. But right now I've got them set up, and so it's actually kind of data that's associated with stuff in the drawing. So, but I can go in and type in my stuff. The title. Now I could go change that scale. If I did it for the scale, right? So I can say that's 3, 4. Now, say OK. And my stuff, I have a T and a bunch of symbols, an L and a bunch of symbols. My name is fine. What do you think? What went wrong?
That's like caps.
Yeah, it's not caps, right? The font we're using is called GDT, and it's meant to have symbols, not just text. So if we go to Moodle, and you go to this character list, it has what the symbols are. So capital letters will show the letter, because we're supposed to use all caps. Lowercase letters, you can look at this and see what the symbol is. And this isn't reading it here in the website correctly. If I save, if you download that, you should be able to open it correctly. There. That's how it should look. So save it off the website and then open it. So these are the correct symbols for the letters, for the lowercase letters. So what I really need to do is go back to that drawing, double click on that again, turn on a caps lock, now it looks correct. Okay? Questions? Alright, no questions? See these little things that are highlighted? Those are called fields. So this bottom one, when I save it, watch what happens to those things. It updates and lets you know when you saved it and where it's located. Why do you want to have that on a drawing?
Quick reference.
Yeah, quick reference. You've got a stack of drawings. You can easily look down here and see, okay, which one's the newest one? You've got 4 of the same drawing. Which is the new one? Or you come back to a project a month or a year later. You forgot where you saved that file. You can look here and see where you saved that file. So that's why it's kind of a standard thing that most people do, is they put that on there. And this stuff we'll talk about when we do drafting 5, and I think in 44 we'll talk about a little bit. We'll talk about all what this means. But this is the contract for the drawing. Because your drawing is a contract, just like a legal document, and this is the rules of that contract. So we'll talk in 5. We'll talk about what that means and everything. But every drawing you see will have something kind of like that. All right. Well, let's just do some text now. So, where's text? How about this A right here, right? This is a little bit different than all these buttons. Now I've got the symbol, and I've got another little box below it with a name and an arrow. So that flyout's different than those flyouts, right? But it's still a flyout. So if I click on the bottom half, I'll get to the different options. If I pick the top half, it'll take me to whatever option was already selected. So since it's already set to multi-line text, if I pick the top, it's going to take me straight into multi-line text. If I want to do single line text, I have to pick the bottom, single line, and now you can see the top is single line. So if I just hit the top now, it'd be single line. So that's how those types of buttons always work. So we'll do single line first, because it's my favorite. I do almost everything in single line text. I have some uses for multi-line. I'll talk about that when we get to it. But I like single line. I know people that don't use single line for anything. They use multi-line for everything. That's another one of those, whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter to me. So if you look down here, it's telling me the current text style is Romans. The current text height is 1/4 inch, and it's not annotative. So we want dimensions to be annotative. We don't want text to be annotative. And we'll talk more about that when we get to dimensions and what that means. And it's asking for a start point, or I can justify it or change the style. So I'm going to say J to justify. Let's see what the options are. So when I justify text, that's, when you're using Word, you have left, right, center, and full, right? Here what we're talking about is like, if this was my, change to a different color. If that's where my text is going to be, how am I going to hold on to that text? Do I want it to be align, fit, center, middle, so kind of those. And then these ones here, the 2 letters, those are the ones that really I like to use. So TL, top left, TC, top center, or top right, middle left, middle center, middle right, bottom left, bottom middle, bottom right. So you can really control it by any point on that box. So depending on where the text is going to be and how you want it to line up, you can control it by kind of any spot on it. Usually we'll just use normal bottom left, or we'll use the middle center, or maybe a bottom right. Kind of depends on where you want to hold on to the text. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to say top center, pick there. Now it asks me for the height. Anyone know what height text we usually use?
Sure, yeah.
What?
No, I wanted to know.
Oh. Does anyone know? No.
1/8 inch?
Tricked you, huh? Yeah, 1/8 inch. The quarters, because that last text I had typed on this drawing was the title, and that's taller text. So it's an 1/8 inch, 0.12. Now it asks me the rotation angle. So this is, how do I want it to line up? 0 would be turned out to the right. I could also make it go up. So the text would just kind of rotate and go up. So I'm going to say 0. So because that's the number in the brackets, I can just hit enter. Now I can start typing. I'm typing and typing. If I realize I made a mistake up here, I can just go back up there, pick that, fix it, make a new line, go here, make a new line. I can just keep typing like that. I could also go over here, type something, here, type something, type something. When I'm all done, I hit enter. It takes me to the next line. Then I hit enter again, and it gets me out of it. Now watch what happens when I pick it. That's text, that's text, that's text, that's text. They're all separate things. So they're all individual text items. They're still being held by the bottom left, but they also have a grip here at the top center. So I can move it by that, or I can move it by that. Depends on how I wanted to line stuff up and move it around. You can see it's got kind of a generic spacing between them. Let's say I wanted those to be closer together though. Make it easier. Get a few lines. So I want these lines of text to be a little bit closer. Say I'm making a table and I want to squeeze as much as I can in there. How do you think I could make those closer together? Can I change line spacing?
Yeah, where? Can you?
That's what I'm asking. Was there any option for line spacing or anything there?
I didn't see it.
If I double click on it, does any options come up for formatting? No. It just changes so I can edit the text that's in there. So, how can I change the space between those lines? Anyone look at any of the other commands? Any other modify commands? Like that big old arrow thing? Over here? You want to try move? Yeah, I can move those wherever I want them. I can take this one, I can move it down. You can see I'm looking here, and I'm seeing what that measurement is. And I want to make it a nice even number, so I'm not just going to click, I'm going to kind of get it close to where I want it. 0.05. So I'll move that one down 0.05, and I'll move those two up 0.05, that one up. Now those line spaces are a lot better, or a lot closer. So you have really fine control over how you move things using single line text. If I wanted to make a table of these, I can take these now, I could copy those, straight over to the side, 2, move that back a little bit. Make a little table, and I can draw some lines, separate it, whatever. So that's why I like DTEXT, because I have infinite control over how things are spaced and positioned and all that. So that's my personal preference. There's other things like the table command, which you could use, but yeah, you don't have nearly as much control over with that as you do with DTEXT. But it's a lot easier to work with. Some people say. I don't. So, any questions on single line text? What about symbols? Anyone watch the video and see how you can do symbols? Like if I want the diameter symbol, or the percent symbol, or the degree symbol. Anyone see that? So if I want to use a symbol, what I do is I type percent, and then I can type either C, that gives me the diameter symbol, D gives me the degrees, or P gives me plus or minus. So if I go and edit one of these texts, so I say percent C, diameter symbol. Percent D, degrees, percent P, plus or minus. Okay? Those are kind of real common ones, symbols you use a lot. So that's how you get them. Other symbols, how do I get other symbols?
Look 'em up.
I go back to my list, right? So I could also use N for diameter symbol, the lowercase n. But if I wanted symmetry, I could just do a lowercase I. That would give me the symmetry symbol. Or if I want parallel, lowercase f. Stuff like that. Depth, lowercase x. We'll use that one later on. You might want to remember that. Counterbore, lowercase v. Like if I was doing a whole note, say I could write out the whole note like that just by using my lowercase letters. And I don't have that list memorized. I'll show you another way you can get to it also when we do the MTEXT. So, any questions on single line text? Alright. So the other option is multi-line text. So the multi-line, I'm going to pick first corner, second corner. It's kind of like doing a text box in Publisher or some other thing, or doing a special text box in Word. Look at my ribbon. What happened?
Changed.
It changed. Now it has a bunch of options for text. Things like a size, font, justification. So all those justifications I had before DTEXT, I still have there. And single line text is called DTEXT. That's its name. It's not S-text, it's DTEXT. And then multi-line text is MTEXT. So now I can also do bulletin numbering, I can do line spacing, I can do kind of just regular formatting, I can do columns, symbols, that's where it is, symbols, the degrees plus or minus diameter, a bunch of other stuff, and I can go to other, and I can see all of the ones also. Okay? So if you can't remember what it was, or you can't find that list, just go to Symbols, Other, and you can see all the symbols. If I type in here, you can see what's happening when I'm typing. I'm not pressing enter. I'm just continuing my text. It's wrapping the text just like a document editor would. So what do you think this is really good for?
If you want a box around it.
No, because it doesn't actually draw the box around it.
Oh, it doesn't?
No.
Oh.
You got a lot to say.
You got a lot of stuff. So, like on architectural drawings, they have like pages full of notes for you to read. I'd use MTEXT for. If I've got like paragraphs of text, yeah, MTEXT, definitely the way to go. I would not use DTEXT for that. But for me, that's the only reason I would use that. Because you can see here, once I get out of it, I pick on it. I can grab this one, I can change it. So I can change the length of the box, change how it's broken into lines and everything. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I know people that use DTEXT or MTEXT for everything. They'll go and they'll change the line space if they want it, more or less. So even though I knew the spacing that I wanted from before, trying to tell it to use that same spacing isn't quite as easy now. No. Right. Because over here, I moved them closer to 0.05. But I can't really see what I'm doing without hitting enter, go back and changing it. So I don't have the control that I did over here with DTEXT. But they're both there. You can use either one whenever you have to do text, which won't be too often. In mechanical stuff, we don't do a whole lot of text. We want to use symbols and the dimensions and the geometry itself to tell people what to do. But when you get to some of the assignments where you make up your own thing later on, then you can use text for it. In that case, if the text is kind of just there for notes and things, where should it go? Or to explain something, where should that text be?
Bottom.
The side, no, not on the.
A different layer.
And it's on a layer. So you can see I have a layer
Be
called
on
text.
the layout.
Should be on the layout. The geometry goes in the model space. Dimensions go in the model space. Things that are tied directly to the geometry goes in the model space. Other things, just kind of for information stuff, goes in the layout. Okay. Any questions?